I'm just going to show you a quick game that was played at a club competition. And the idea of this competition is that everybody plays everybody else, and depending on your grading you get a different amount of moves, so a different amount of time to play all your moves. So I had 15 minutes to play, and that comes down to an average of 20 seconds of move for this game. So there's lots of mistakes and there's decisions that were made that you wouldn't make in a longer time control, but it's quite a fun game anyway. So I'll just show you this. So open with e4, c6, I'm into the Caro-Kann. h4 often gets played here, but proceed a little bit differently. Sorry, h4 normally gets played instead of bishop c4. e6, rook e1. From a very early stage I'd been doing quite a few tactics involving sacrifices against e6, so I was looking at loading up against that square and seeing if I could make something work if I got the opportunity. Queen e2. Now knight b6 was the move, and I was looking at if my opponent castled, then I was going to go straight in with the sacrifice, which isn't a good decision because after takes, queen takes, 2 pawns for the bishop, looks okay, this bishop's hanging, but rook f7, knight g5, and okay, I'm going to win the rook. We could play some like queen b6. I'm going to win rook, but I'll have given up the knight and the bishop to developed attacking pieces for rook and 2 pawns. So I've really not gained anything, and I've just lost all advantage there, and my attack flounders straight away, so it wouldn't have been a good idea. But knight b6 was played anyway. Drop the bishop back, still want to keep an eye on e6. Knight b to d5, clearly good square for the knight. I'll put my knight in the centre as well. Queen to b6. My opponent was actually looking at castling queen side here. I thought king side looked safer, but here we go. c4, kicking that knight. Knight to c7. Now knight takes g6. This is the first of his moves that you wouldn't really play in longer time control. The knight was really well placed there. The bishop's not doing too much at the moment. My idea was that after h takes, I've taken away a defender of the f7 pawn, and the f7 pawn's a defender of e6. So you can see I'm quite caught up in this idea at attacking that pawn, and that eventually, if I wanted to, I could bring a knight back into e5, although that's going to take 4 moves. So again, not really a good idea. H takes g6, c5. Again, giving up the d5 square is not a great idea, but I saw the opportunity to kick this queen around a little bit and get some pieces out and gain a bit of space on the queen side, and we're being a quick game. That's all I went for. Queen a6, bishop c4. Now here b5 is the option, and if you take on passant, we've got queen takes b6. Queen a5 plays into my plans. Bishop d2, queen a4, b3, queen a3. Now I'll play knight f1 here to bring it to e3. Bring the knight back into the centre, which makes a lot of sense. Knight e3. Again, I had kind of plans of bishop c1 or knight c2 harassing his queen, but the queen manages to wriggle out on all those variations. Knight takes e3, queen takes again. looking at e6, and we get knight takes g4, forking the queen and h2, and I play queen f4. I've got an idea in mind, and it works, but more accurate is queen to g3. I'll show you why in a moment. But rather than taking here, when I can play f3 and the knight's going to get caught in a few trappy kind of situations, my opponent retreats knight f6. Now if I play queen g3 here, then black's counter of queen to b2 attacking his bishop can be easily met. Bishop c3, and the queen's going to have to do something, probably go back to a3 here. So, and I don't get that with queen f4, because obviously I have queen b2, I'm not protecting c3. But queen f4, knight f6, and then queen comes in c7. And this is now black's in quite a bit of trouble. He plays the b2 attacking the bishop, but when I take on b7, the rook's on pre. Rook d8, queen gets to take on c6 with check, king to f8, bishop to a5, taking the bishop away from harm and attacking the rook. Knight g4, an interesting idea, because if bishop takes rook, well, queen takes f2, king h1, rook takes h2 is checkmate. So we have to do something about that. Now, I play an inferior move here. I play queen f3. But if you want to quickly pause the video and see if you can find the best defense for white here. Okay, let's see if you've had a look at it. Best defense here is bishop e2. It leaves a rook on pre. It blocks f2 from the queen, and it attacks the knight as well. So that's the best move. But I play queen to f3. Knight takes h2. Got to do something with the queen. And I played this for practical reasons, but it's not a bad move at all. Queen to c3, offering a queen exchange. Well, forcing a queen exchange. The queen can't go to a3, because if queen to a3, bishop to b4 wins the queen. The queen's trapped in that situation. So the queen's got to take on c3, which my opponent's quite happy to do. His queen's been out of play. And it was quite a surprise that I offered a queen exchange. From my point of view, with there not being much time per move, this leaves me with a simple plan. If we look at this situation, if we look at the queen side, my opponent's got a rook and a pawn. I've got 4 connected pawns, 2 bishops, a rook, and my other rook can come across really easily, whereas all of his pieces are over on the king side. That rook's out of play as far as getting over to the queen side quickly, and also he's got to get this knight back. So I've got a lot in a way of time and material on that side of the board, where all the play is going to be. Knight g4, b4, starting advancing the pawns, bishop to h4, attacking the pawn, but that's easily met with g3, bishop to f6. Not a bad move as it turns out. I thought at the time that he needed to leave that square for the knight to go there, and perhaps to d5. c6, rook to c8. As it turns out, he could play bishop takes d4. I thought this was unplayable because of c7, thinking he'd have to move a rook to c8, and then I could just take here. Obviously, if he takes his bishop and play that, but he doesn't. He just gets the intermediate move, bishop takes f2 check, king f1, and then rook c8, and black's better. So bishop takes d4 was the move here, but c6 looks quite threatening, and I got away with this one. Rook c8, b5, protecting that pawn, and we can see how this diagonal's opened up now. King e7 to get the king back and open the back rank for his other rook to come into play. Bishop b4 check, king to d8, rook a to d1, so that I can start pushing this pawn. King to c7, d5, just going straight ahead with the plan of pushing all the pawns. Bishop to e5, this is a really bad move. I was just looking at pushing that d6 pawn, so not much time on the clock. I could see that I could do that, and that's what I went ahead with d6 check. But much stronger is just d takes e6, clearly gaining a pawn, threatening to gain another pawn. I can move, I can advance it if need be. I've got rook d7 check. Black can't recapture with f takes e, because bishop takes e6, forking the rook and knight. But d6 check, king d8 is a big mistake. He needed to come in on b6 now. Bishop a5 check, king's got to go e8, d7 check, and we can see I've now got one position, but I've also got to finish the game before time runs out. So king e7 takes for the queen, he's not going to leave that on the board. Rook takes rook to d7 check. Now he's got to play king f8 here, but king to f6, bishop d8 check, and there's setting a little trap that I was hoping my opponent wouldn't see, and obviously he's got to make quick decisions as well. And after rook takes, bishop, rook takes, it's going to be quite an easy win. So we just, seeing that that looks bad, he makes the automatic move, king f5, bishop d3 is checkmate. So a quick game, nice and fun, rapid one for us in the club tournament, and not perfect but fun to play anyway. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any comments, just leave them below. Thanks.